Welcome back to Selling Frankston. In today's episode, we do have a special guest, Sky Hammer from Convergence Property Advocates or
Convergence Buyers Agents.
Buyers Agents. Yeah. My bad, mate. That's not a good start. How are you doing, mate?
Doing good. Yeah. How are you guys?
Very good, mate.
That's good. Thanks for the coffee. It always helps.
Gets the caffeine, gets the energy.
Where's this
kicking
one from?
in.
Grandma's Boys.
Grandma's Boys, yeah, down in the local in Mount Eliza. It's a good. They do a good coffee. What do you rate it?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Yeah. And it's not their fault. It's just a bit cold, obviously. I'm a bit late, but no, it's a good coffee.
Awesome.
Very good.
Yeah. Now, Sky, why are buyers agents everywhere at the moment?
Good question. And they are everywhere because I'm obviously competing with a lot of them as well. Yep. So it really just comes down to, I guess, and for you guys, and we'll obviously speak about Frankston today, but from an investment perspective, 18 months, 24 months ago, Frankston, and when I say Frankston, I'm talking like the LGA, it just lit up like a Christmas tree from a data perspective. So you have data-driven buyers agents, but also just data-savvy property investors. Like there's so many platforms out there now where you can kind of get raw access to data and heat mapping tools, all that type of stuff. It just blew up. And so like if you look at Melbourne as a whole, I'd invest in probably 5 or 6 suburbs. And most of those are in the Frankston LGA. And this is going back a couple of years and 12 months ago, of course, as well. So you have that. And then so it's not just 1 or 2 buyers agents. It's, I guess, everyone looking at very similar data, all pivoting to the same markets.
Okay.
So for us, it was very much identifying those suburbs that were great for investment. And then I think what happens over time is it's not just investors getting into these markets, it's also homeowners. So like for us, we've also got clients now that are looking to buy homes in the area. So again,
you're actually getting, it's interesting because most people will affiliate a buyer's agent with investors.
Yep.
Are you finding that that's actually the pendulum swinging where you're helping homeowners as well?
Yeah, so we're definitely investment, like that's our bread and butter. We've bought into stay. We're obviously buying a lot in Melbourne at the moment, but also in some other pockets of Victoria.
Great.
But it's a kind of a natural process. So like it'll start with investors. We'll have built all the relationships with agents like yourselves, and so we know you. And then over time, whether it's I guess maybe homeowners missing out and seeing us at inspections. Or
that's why you rock the Convergence buyers. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I'm not even looking for a client those days. No.
Giving business cards.
And to be honest, like a lot of our stuff's obviously private inspection, so we're not going through when everyone's there. But the main referral source we have is actually through agents. So for someone like yourselves, you've got, and it's usually first homeowners or maybe upsizers that you keep missing out. You obviously don't sell every property in Frankston, and it's a referral to someone like ourselves being like, hey, look, you've missed out on 4 or 5 properties now. You've been looking for 6 months. Have you considered using a buyer's advocate or a buyer's agent? So that happens pretty commonly. And so again, it transitions from having lots of investor clients in a particular market over to those own occupiers.
It's interesting you say that because I noticed, like, talking to you over the journey, you've been buying a lot off market. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Now, for those viewers or listeners at the moment, off market, can you explain the difference between off market and on market?
Yeah, sure. There's different variations and definitions of off market. So I kind of break it up into 3. There's kind of like pure off market.
Yep.
And that is like in our case, sometimes direct to vendor. It's with an agent that may not have listed the property yet, or they're kind of about to list it.
Yep.
Or it's a listing and due to personal circumstances, it's never going to market. And that's the kind of, I guess sometimes the more unfortunate scenarios, whether it's a divorce and things like that, where they just don't want the whole street finding out.
Knowing what's going on. Yep.
So there's those types of off markets.
Yep.
Then there's like pre-markets, which is stuff that it's like, hey, this property is going to go to market in, say, a few weeks' time. However, come through, see what you think.
Yep.
And let's see if we can get a deal done. And sometimes,
great.
less so much in the hot markets where I think vendors and agents like yourselves are going to say, well, let's take this one to market because we know we're going to have a lot of interest in it.
Yeah.
But in the kind of warmer markets and when we kind of first started buying here, it was definitely like there was a lot more of that pre-market as well. So it was getting early access. And then there's on market, which is something we see on real estate, the common domain, which again, we don't buy much there.
Yep. What's really interesting is I've noticed that when you started looking all those years back, you were ahead of the game in that sense for those investors. So you sort of picked up a trend of, and clearly you touched on it before, how you got some heat maps on what areas were doing. What were the key things that really drove you to Frankston, like what you could see? That maybe other people have now, they've certainly come to the fore now, but they're probably 12 months behind that trend. what was the
Yeah.
real key drivers there?
Yep. So from a data, so we're data led first, and then on the ground kind of second.
Okay.
So like we obviously can't be on the ground in every market across the country,
Yeah.
but or even
Yep.
in Dublin. So we kind of combine the two. So for us, we're looking at things like days on market, stock on market, percentages, rent yields, vacancy rates, all that type of stuff. So it's a classic, and to dumb it down a little bit is like demand and supply.
Yeah.
So for us, we're looking for markets with very limited supply, but that demand has either hit the bottom and it's now kind of rising, or we're seeing those green shoots. And so the market's starting to pick up. There's more buyers interested, whether that's investors or homeowners. And we're looking to get into that market early. So again, as soon as that turns, we might
Then you change your direction. Is that
and that's where we're thinking, okay, let's go check out these areas. And that's on the ground, that's getting around, driving around, speaking to agents.
Yeah, nice.
I think in some of the more newer markets recently, it's actually speaking to Uber drivers. I find I learn a lot.
Really? Uber drivers?
That's a great
great
tip. Any buyer out there, go and talk to the Uber
Go and talk
driver.
to the Uber driver.
And that's like street level, suburb level stuff, but also bigger picture. And this is getting a little bit off topic now, but like I was in Tassie recently. We're doing some buying down there, it's interesting that speaking about to all the Uber drivers, I had this same app up. It was like a migration app. I was like, what's going on? Like, why do you guys all have this same app up open? And it's like a group chat type thing.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to kind of pull apart like what we're seeing in terms of migration and where people are moving to in Australia. So, I guess for quick background before we go fully off topic, but like in Australia, like if you come to Australia, you're looking for permanent residency.
Yep.
If you live regionally, it does reduce the time until you actually qualify for PR.
Okay.
And so initially it was, let's move to the Gold Coast because that qualified as regional. So lots of people would migrate there. Then it got too expensive. So they had to find somewhere else.
So they classified Gold Coast as regional.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. So in terms of Melbourne, like where would be a place? Would Geelong add?
Geelong, but funnily enough, the cutoff, I can't remember the exact suburb. It's right in the Frankston LGA. So I think if you're Mornington and below, it's also regional.
I did say, I remember when back and we don't like talking about the good old COVID days, but I noticed that a lot of the people on the peninsula, they were really, really disappointed with we're very regional down here, but yet we had to live in the metro sort of bubble in terms of the rules there. Yet across to the Bellarine Peninsula, Geelong, they were free as a bird. They could go and play golf, and I think that's why no one wanted him on the golf courses down here on the peninsula.
Exactly.
But that's great.
I just want to interject a little bit. Sorry, I know it's a hard one for you to know. With the Frankston, and obviously, like you said, there's supply and demand. When you got on the ground and you saw what they were doing with the hospital, you actually drove through and saw the infrastructure, sporting globe, and all that sort of stuff. Did that give a bit more confidence that you could convey to your
it does, but like I don't have to see that. Like again, we're in an information age where like you can do a lot of that research behind a desk. For me, the like boots on the ground part is more seeing what's happening in inspections, seeing how much demand there is at properties, because the other one that we bought a lot of property in Frankston North, which a lot of other. Again, a lot of data driven buyers agents.
You're well ahead of
that.
You're ahead of the game there.
So a lot of buyers agents or investors will look at lots of data points. And one of the key ones that people look at these days is kind of renter to owner proportions. Okay. So like in a suburb, what percentage are renters and what percentage are owners. And for us, we'd like to see that 30% renters or thereabouts. Okay. Whereas Frankston North it's up near 50%.
50. I was going to say it's predominantly 50%.
Yeah. So a lot of people just ruled Frankston North out. At the same time, I was on the ground and being like, you know what? There's not many investors at these open homes. It's first homeowners. It's people moving down from Melbourne, getting into this because it's affordable. That percentage, again, it's not going to change overnight. It's changing over time. But this is not an investor-led boom. This is homeowners. Wow. And again, the people that missed out, they missed out on the best performing suburb in Melbourne in the last 12 months. So
they certainly did.
So you got to combine the data
in terms of percentage growth. And I know I was talking. Funny enough, I was talking to one of your clients who'd purchased a home, and I couldn't believe. I said, "Geez, you know, they called us on the back of a sale that we had in Bessarius Street for a client of ours." Anyway, he said, "Oh, look, we just bought a property off Sky." I said, "Geez, you know, I'll put up the address," and he said, and I said, "How did you get that price. He said, oh, look, I had Sky was on the ground, literally, and he got the deal done. I don't know how we did it.
So that was a classic, and this is why look, we have a lot of clients come to us. They're interstate investors. A lot of them have either been burnt or at least speaking to maybe a Sydney-based buyer's agent.
He was from Sydney.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And so he just cold called me one day and was like, actually, I don't know, this is the same client, but I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same one, because he was sick of working with a Sydney-based one who was just sending him properties in Melbourne. And this example is a good one because the only reason I got that deal was because I was driving through the streets of Frankston North, as I do. No, I was coming from somewhere else, and it was just a signpost out the front. It was an agent, out of the area agent. I was like, never seen this bloke before. And I said, hey, so you got this one coming soon. Let's get a deal done. I got a client who will buy it. And again, we're able to do it that way. So again, if you're not driving past the house, you're not going to see that type of stuff.
I can tell you now, and that's interesting because I noticed that, he paid looking at it. Like he couldn't believe the result that we got. I think we sold that for just under 730. Actually, it was 735, wasn't it?
Oh, 725 or 735. I don't know.
Anyway,
we should know that.
He couldn't believe. He goes, look, I've got a place. It's actually a bigger size block. Same sort of, actually, his house was in better condition. He said, look, I literally paid $650 for it. I've just settled probably 2-3 months ago.
Yep.
And I said, well, look, for a resale, you'd be mid-sevens already. So you'd already made your client quite a lot. So he was already thinking about what he was going to do in terms of building, whether he'd do a 4 or a 3 bed. You know, there was sort of the townhouses. So he's looking to invest into the area.
Yeah. So, and this is an interesting take as well. So that property we actually paid $610.
610. That's right.
Yep.
Plus stamps. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he was
all
sort
in
of,
for
I couldn't believe it. I was like, he was just like,
Yeah, so we paid that $610. We got a bank val done $750. I think he got back. So he's $140K of equity day one. Settlement.
Yeah.
And so he's now taking an equity and it's funding his subdivision. So he's going to build a 3, potentially a 4-bedder out the back. Which is why I think I sent him your way.
Yeah,
to get an appraisal and to see what you think would like in terms of what product would be best in the area. So
definitely.
But again, and so we've helped him buy that. We've bought him a second property, even cheaper in Cranbourne. Funnily enough, we've got a 3-bedder for $540, I think.
Jeez, that's pretty good.
Insane. But it was a classic off market. It was an occupier, but had not looked after the place.
It was a hoarder.
But also just there was. I went through the bathroom, and I was like, "Why has he got a black basin? I've only ever seen white or maybe something fancy. It was black. It was like shavings."
Oh, you're kidding?
And it never washed. It was like a shaving ball.
It was like the Teen Wolf basin. Oh wow.
Yep. Yeah. So again, it was one of those ones that it was never going to market. And so kind of managed to pick that one up.
That wouldn't have gone too well for any buyer inspection.
Come on in. Actually, if you like facial hair, you're gonna like this house.
In terms of your buying percentage, I know you guys predominantly. I think you came out and said you buy about 80%. I remember when we chatted.
Yep.
Off market. So do you try and go for those pure off market deals, or what? I guess will deter you from a property or going through with it just before it hits that on market or pre market phase?
So for us, like for a long time, we were 100% off market in the Frankston area, which was great. Had the relationships. We're definitely a boutique buyers agency. We don't have 50 clients at a time. So we're not trying to buy 20, 30 properties a month.
It's actually, it's a really, we'll touch on that. Sorry. I want to talk to you about that because we've met some agencies that are buyers agents and they'll say, look, here's our buy brief. And they've got 15 clients all in the same price range. And I'm like, who do they look after? Does it make sense?
And we can share some examples of that maybe a bit later as well. But what was the question again?
The percentage, 80% off market, and then what will kind of flag you if you go, is this a good deal or is it going to be pushed in?
And so for us, it's value first. Where do we see value? And that's why we like that pre-market space because obviously reduced competition.
Correct.
It gives us a bit more time to work out comparables and to find the value add potential. So again, property in Lang Warren we bought not long ago. It was a 3-bedder, but they had this weird second living dining, and I was like, we'll just chuck a wall up, and that's a 4-bedder. So we're converting a 3 to a 2, not losing any kind of usable space. So stuff like that again, it's pre-market, and not true off market that one, but stuff like that. So we're looking for that, and it's the subdivision side. So a lot of our clients, I don't know if publicly we put a name for it, but we have a lot of referral clients. We're buying potential subdivision granny flat sites
Okay.
for.
Yeah, nice.
So again, we're buying in that pre-market space or off-market. We've got time for town planners to look at properties. We've got those relationships, so they can kind of look through, check it all out, and then it's making a numbers game.
Yep.
So, do we always pay under market value for properties? Like a lot of the time, yes, but a lot of the time, no, not necessarily, because we're looking for opportunity there as well.
Yeah.
So
You're trying to find, it sounds bad, but you're almost trying to find, a person in a situation where time is of the essence. They don't necessarily care, like you said, if it's a divorce or they want to be quiet about it.
Yeah.
They just want to move it on.
Yeah,
Generally speaking, though, with what I've found in my 25 years, divorces, generally speaking, want to go to market.
Yeah.
They won't, because there'll either be one person digging their heels in that don't want to sell, so they have to do it for that purpose.
Yep.
So to do it off market is very rare, but you'll get those clients that, whether they're in a forced position financially.
Yeah.
Investors just want to offload, get it before the end of financial year. What other things would you elaborate? Would you say that are common for those sellers that you're being able to?
We sometimes it's long-term investors, like say 10 plus years, and they haven't put a cent in maintenance. And
So they just
and so you walk into the property and like everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
And so again, it's tenanted. They're not going to spend 5-10 grand on staging because that's not what needs to be done. Yeah. And so it's getting that kind of deal done.
Do you have? Sorry to interject. Do you have like a trade person that comes through, or do you have an inclination? Okay, look, the kitchen's falling apart.
Yep.
It needs a paint, new carpets. To get it to a level to rent out, do you already sort of work out how much you need to spend?
Yeah. And so like there are a lot of the properties we buy, like when they're off market, we're buying those ugly ducklings.
Yeah, nice.
And so a lot of the time, like the investment property isn't sexy from the start. It's actually the ugly one that we say, look, keep it as is. If the tenant's happy, if they're going to be in there, and in a year or 2 years' time, just factor in, we're going to have significant capital growth. We'll use that equity to update the bathroom, update the kitchen,
that's
all that
great.
Sort of stuff.
That's great advice.
But we've got that team here. Frankston and some other markets we're buying, where it's basically we can get those quotes done. We can get the works done straight away, or we can just get the quotes to know what that looks like.
So you can factor that in when they do the loan through the bank on valuation. Yep. So question, why Frankston? Why do you love buying in Frankston?
Yeah, so I just love the area. Like obviously, and this is data. Like just say we've ticked the data box. The data side was great, but from an on the ground perspective, it's just what the region brings. And so like Frankston has never had bad fundamentals. It's had a perception problem. So it's the perception that's been the issue holding it back. And again, that's still there. But there's this huge window of opportunity for both home buyers and investors to still buy here now, and there's still huge value, I think, ahead.
That's what I was going to say, because obviously 2025 was such a crazy growth year for Frankston North was leading the charge. I know Domain had said it was number one in all of Victoria. Frankston was second. So it had some substantial growth. Do you reckon that's going to continue, or do you reckon what is the data saying from your end?
Yeah, so for us, we actually just released our top 10 suburbs for Melbourne report recently, and so I think we had Frankston still in there. Langwarrin is the other one that we did a lot of buying in.
I was going to say in the LGA of Frankston. So when you're talking the LGA, you got Seaford, Carrum Downs, Skye, Langwarrin, Frankston North, Frankston South. Out of those, they've all been pretty good. They've batted well above the average in comparison to other cities in Melbourne. So you're thinking Langwarrin as a
Langwarrin, we didn't speak about it publicly as much last year because we didn't get a lot of buying there. So we really like Langwarrin. So it's in our report this year. The data, again, it's a high price point, and so a narrative that I've heard some investors speak about, and then also some potential clients and actual clients reach out to us saying, Frankston, I want to be close to the water. And that even holds true for Frankston North. People are like, I want to be in Frankston North instead of Langwarrin because it's closer to the water.
Wow.
And I was like,
that's interesting.
Because it does make sense if you're kind of here on the ground.
If you're a local down here, there's a lot of people that would sort of look and go, well, I'd rather...
Would you rather be Frankston North or Langwarrin?
Exactly.
And a lot of people go, well, look, I'd rather be in Langwarrin.
Exactly, And so the other thing is like, it gets cheaper away. You move further from the coast. And I was like, it actually doesn't. Like, it's fine in Langwarrin. A lot of people like bigger blocks, family friendly. That's where they'd actually want to be. So we've got to kind of, explain that in a bit of depth as well.
So then you go over to Cranbourne.
Exactly.
And that's where
where that kind of drop in price happens. That's also where we're buying a fair bit of property.
And the yield there, like from a rental perspective, pretty good yield?
It was. Same as Frankston and it sounds. So
as prices go up and I mean, we saw a substantial jump in rents, like in the space of like a couple of years. It went from you could rent a lovely 3-bedroom house for say $350, $400 a week.
Yep.
Now,
yeah, you can't do that.
what do we talk? What do we talk just for an absolute crapper?
Oh, 500.
Yeah, and that's stuff falling apart. We see it, and it's like that's well over $2,000 a month, and then if you really want something that's done up, and you're going to be up around that $2,500 to possibly $3,000 a month for a rental. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So like Langwarrin and Skye are probably our preferred markets in the LGA now because despite going up in price, so like for the average house, you're actually paying more than you're probably doing Frankston proper. But you're actually getting a better rental yield in most scenarios because newer houses, bigger houses, there's very limited kind of rental stock available as well. So we're actually preferring Skye and Langwarrin now. If someone wants a slightly higher yield, we can still buy probably just above 4%. Whereas Frankston, even Frankston North now, we're probably into the 3s.
There was a time where I think that it's just the prices have gone up and the yield's starting to
the yield compression. We see it a lot, like particularly in some other markets, like we did a lot of buying in Perth and that, where the yields just stayed strong for quite long because the rents were rising significantly quicker than what they have here. They haven't risen as much because I think it's just the state of the market here. You can only rise rents so much, and there's obviously lots of investors buying, so that's kind of kept a lid on it. Whereas in Perth, it was even more own occupied dominated.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say
no
over there,
stock coming.
There wasn't. I mean, I remember we had an influx of FIFOs, or FIFOs, I should say, FIFOs. A bit of a tongue twister. I reckon it would have been mid 2000s, so 2005 to 2007. We had all these WA. The West Coast just went boom. The mining sector went crazy. So we had all these people. I remember meeting a guy, and he came over. We met. He drove from the airport, got a lift down, and he came to Frankston. He said, "My requirement is minimum 600 square meters block. Don't care how the house is." And he was working in conjunction with about another 50 to 60 other mates that he was working with, and they all pulled money in, and between them, I think they had close to 80 properties that they purchased. So we sold a lot for them down the track, but they it was sight on scene. So you would ring them up and say, "Look, we've just listed this home," and back then, $400,000. This is going back 20 plus years ago. He's like, "Oh, that's nothing." Like, look, there you go.
They sound like Sydney-based buyers agents.
I was going to say, some of those city buyer agents are pretty good to deal with if you're a seller. And but certainly. But these guys were just buying up, and then all of a sudden, and this is the important thing with the, they actually had someone handling it privately, the rentals.
Oh, right.
And what ended up happening was we started getting calls from. I always kept in contact with the owners, and I'd ring them up and say, "Look, I noticed the house is really starting. The yards are out of control, blah blah blah, and who's managing your property?" Because I had a book, and they're like, "Oh, we got a guy. He's saying everything's fine," and I said, "He goes, oh, but we've had quite a few of these properties in arrears now." And funny enough, we found out. What had happened was this guy was privately managing these properties, was pocketing the money, saying that they were in arrears because we would go and see the renters. Because now and again, I knew a couple of these people that were renting, and they were like, "No, we're up to date. We're giving cash to this guy, and he's not passing it on." So in the end, these consortiums, and that's where it was. They should have done it instead of giving all their trust in this one guy, and he did the right thing at the start. But when he went out and tried to do his property management, it didn't go to plan. So, so that guy learned a very, very valuable lesson. To always put it through. And I said, "Mate," but we had funny story with the rental, and how you were talking about a bowl. This will crack you up. I went to this place, and this, knocked on the door, and I knew straight away we were in a bit of strife. It was in Kringle, off Ashley Ave. It was a cheap home. And on the front, there's a skeleton of the bulls, and I'm thinking there's just, all these cars out the front. I'm like, perfect rental. Open the door, and this guy goes, "Go, mate, how you going?" And I said, "Yeah, good." And he goes, "Oh, you here to sell the house, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Look, I've got the open 10 minutes. He goes, "Come into my office." And I walk into the lounge room, and on the table, he had, I kid you not, every drug possible.
Yeah.
So he had marijuana, cocaine, speed, you know, all the amphetamines. And I'm like, mate, we got people waiting at the front to come in. He goes, mate, hey, this is my office.
That's why they're coming in to buy. They're coming in to buy
He goes, hey, if they want to buy a house, they can buy some drugs off me too. And I literally said, mate, you got to pack everything up.
Yeah.
And by the way, all your bongs and all your paraphernalia, can you just move them to your bedroom? And he goes, nah, mate, I'll just stay here. And it was so awkward. So this guy, he just sat there with all his drugs out there. I had to say, pre-warn the people coming in. And then he had a big pit bull at the back. He goes, no one can go at the back. And I remember just sitting there going, how can you sell a house?
Yeah.
And these guys wanted a premium.
That would have been the ugly duckling.
Yeah,
this guy would have walked on it and been like, beautiful.
It's a very good market property,
But at the time, it was a shift in the market. So that was when about 5-6 years later, they got some really good capital growth. But then the GFC hit.
Yeah.
So in WA, they actually, their property, like their work and everything sort of dropped. Prices in Perth plummeted.
Yeah.
But because they bought really well over here, even though they were paying top dollar, that the actual growth was good enough for them to go, you know what, let's liquefy some assets, which they did. But I'll never forget that time when that guy came in. And, and look, there's a lot of characters in Frankston South, Frankston North.
There's characters everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are.
And to be honest, like I've seen not every type of drug, but like a few at a time when I've gone through off markets with agents. And I think, and this is, I guess, from a selling agent perspective, like you'd much rather, like if you know that's what you're dealing with, you're not going to have a Saturday open. You're going to call someone like myself and look, you're going to see some shit. I don't know if we can swear on this podcast, but like you don't lose face by taking me.
Yeah.
Like you can say like, this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, and that's when you pre-warn the clientele, I think doing that open, that was quite hard because you had some mums and dads that probably weren't, and it was pretty confronting when you got
if
a guy.
you have the kids or a child walking through that house, it's not ideal.
Yeah. So we've seen a few of those, like whether it's drugs or whether it's just like some of the living conditions that you just like especially share houses and stuff like that. I see some crazy stuff.
We've had some very interesting things. I've actually got a memoirs. I'm writing a book on all the things I've sort of seen, and but maybe we'll release that in about 20 years time. But there is some funny stuff that you do see. And there's some, and I think that's where some buyers agents can actually prosper. I say to a lot of buyers, if they're looking, they like everything perfect. Yeah.
But that's where you're going to have competition.
Yeah.
If everything's perfect, that's where you're extracting the last amount of value. You're buying the premium.
I still remember that it was an open home I went to in Carrum Downs. I only went to we bought a property that backed onto the house across the other side. So you're looking at the street. It was on this street, and we bought the house behind it that same week off market for $770, 3 and 2. And it was like needed some work. Whereas this one across the other side, I was like, I'm going to go through it just to see what the demand's like and what it looks like. Fully renovated. It's all in the 900s. So again, us to get to that same position, we're not spending anywhere near that amount of money.
Correct.
But great for your client knowing that, hey,
exactly. Yeah. But then there was 90 something groups through. So it snaked all the way down. I stood there and I ended up just taking calls and doing some work on the phone, but I wanted to get through it. But and this is where like some people will reach out to us, home buyers, because it's like, well, we could have saved you 150 grand, but you obviously put some work in over time, and that's the kind of stuff first time owners should maybe have more on their radar. Which I've seen. It's been a bit different where because a lot of homeowners are coming down from Melbourne, so to them $900 million is starting to seem cheap as opposed to
absolutely.
But if you're, I guess, maybe born and raised here trying to buy, you're now competing with that influx of money.
Yeah, we've seen that. Like we saw that early 2000s, like around when the Perth buyers came across. Yep. But they were just like the Sydney advocates now. They just were cash up, didn't matter. Sydney prices and comparing the two, two different. But then you also had, you had these people from Brighton, Sandringham, from the Bayside. They started to wander down to Frankston South, Mount Eliza, and they were like, "We've just sold our house for $1.5 million, and we could buy like 2/3 of an acre for 250." Back this is the price is like 250,000. You could get 2.5, 2,500 square meter block, big house, blah blah blah, and it had a pool. Yeah. If it had something a little bit special, it was sort of 300 to 400K. These guys were cashing in, going, mate, this is great. Yeah. And yet we're only we're half an hour further down the road, but we've got all the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Well, we're still seeing that more and more.
Yeah.
Is there now, obviously, Sky, they'd have to contact you to get your services, but is there one tip you could give a buyer out there that is competing in a marketplace? Is there one thing that is like a yes or a no red flag, green flag?
Probably two questions. The rest, yes and no red flags. Like this is a good example. Actually, so we're doing a lot of buying in Geelong at the moment.
Yeah.
And again, that's some homeowners and some investors.
Nice.
We've got a guy on the ground there that we've employed as well. So he's speaking to a lot of people. I had a discovery call, it's like an intro call with someone last week.
Okay.
And they heard about us that they want to use our services. But again, for first homeowners, it's the cost for us. Like for our investors, like they're kind of don't mind, it's the cost of doing business. But for homeowners, you're saving up that deposit, particularly first homeowners, it's tough.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what are you working on a percentage? Because I know some agencies
Fixed fee.
Fixed fee.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, what is that fixed fee?
Yep. So 15K.
15K.
Yep.
And that's plus GST.
Is that for any home?
Investors, for investor stuff. Yeah. The exceptions are for high-end stuff and other things that we're doing.
I know some. I've seen and dealt with many agencies, buyers agents over the years, and some of them were charging 3% plus GST. On the purchase price. So, and some of these guys were buying at auction. So look, they were there. They didn't matter. They were just putting their hand up.
Exactly.
And they were just told go and buy because they were experiencing being able to negotiate and just win at auction. And had all the tactics. So there are. I mean, look, and you see, it's interesting in the States how they do it there.
Yeah.
The
I'm going to cut you. I want the red flag, green flag.
Skies
thing before we go off topic.
Red flag, green flag. It was around. So this person reached out and said, look, and because we're seeing more first homeowners actually engage us now because it's a 5% deposit scheme.
Yeah.
And so that 15K or thereabouts, let's call it, they now have that available to use us.
Yeah, nice.
So again, it's usually they've been looking for 6 months. They keep missing out. They're only looking at stuff on the market. And then eventually they reach out to us or someone else, like an agent refers them to us, that type of thing.
Yep.
Well, it is so competitive under that 950.
Exactly. So in that
makes
space, so instead of say 20% or 10%, they're maybe using 5 or 6% deposit, and then they have the ability to do us. And again, when we're buying, we're getting that feedback on day one in terms of what they're doing. Plus, we're saving them the time, effort, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But this individual, he said, look, I've got this property. It's online. We've been through it once. We like it. We're going to see how it goes this weekend when they want offers in by. And he's like, I know you can't do this for free, but like, what are your views on it? Because it fits our budget. And I just Googled the address and on the phone, like I don't usually give out free advice, but I said to him, from my perspective, I wouldn't have even taken 2 seconds to look at that property. You look at it on Google Maps, it's on a main road.
Wow.
And on the other side of the main road is the train line. So you're looking at a main road with the train line behind it. And again, it was in a nice suburb. It was a fresh, clean, nice looking property.
Yeah.
And they're like, we know that's fine, but it's not a forever home. I was like, well, think about it this way.
Resales.
Exactly. And I said, look, let's say now it's a hot market and you're buying this because it's a hot market and it's tough to get into. But in 5 years' time, when you get a sale that if it's a flat market, you've got a house that no one, an investor or an owner occupier, wants to buy. So let's not make that kind of mistake now.
It's interesting you say that. I think with buyers agents, they can sometimes be misconstrued. Like as in, the amount of work and effort and the relationships you've built. For example, you're on the ground. Like some people might go, oh well, that's 15 grand plus GST.
Yep.
I could do it myself.
Yeah.
Now, the amount of time you've spent and knowing those back streets, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I rang you for a property not long ago, and I said, look, I've got this property, blah blah blah, and you Googled Earth and you said, look, I'd like it, but I can't buy it because it's backing onto an estate, like an industrial estate.
Yeah.
Our investors don't want to purchase that, but if and that's it was interesting hearing
that advice though is comfortably worth more than $15,000 on a resale perspective.
Because from a resale, it's so that those sort of little things, the experience and the nous and the knowledge that you are sharing with them is invaluable, in my opinion.
And there's lots of other stuff as well. Like the other feedback I get is that we're getting it a bit in Geelong at the moment. There's heaps of flood zones in Geelong, which not people want to think about. And again, there are around here as well.
Well, in Frankston, like we've got there's Denby Street goes down in a bit of a dip, and it's like 100-year flood zone.
Yep.
And people would say, "No, we're not buying it," and I'm like, "Mate, you're actually on the top point. Like, I'd worry about the guy down below, because he's going to get sunk. You're up, you're up high, so you don't worry about it."
And so that's the check we do for all our searches. That one in Bassario was technically, which blew my mind. It was in a flood zone. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
Did you know the story in that? So at the end of the street, there was a flood back in the 70s.
Yep.
And it didn't even touch but the council came in, redid all the drainage, because back then they built this estate and they didn't have the proper drainage. Yeah. So all of a sudden, all this water just flooded out, and then they went, "Oh, hey, hang on, we better do some infrastructure here, get some more drainage." So they've never had that issue. So it's interesting,
and it's funny. I think it'll continue to happen because it's just how buyers, I think more educated buyers, our buyers agents are buying property these days, is because there's so much availability of information, like council planning. We've got probably 3 or 4 platforms that we pay a fair bit of money for to use. But that's the first check.
So that's great though, because a lot of people they do underestimate what's online. But like you said, if you've got access to all those things, you're looking at overlays, you can easily miss something. And if you have a flood overlay, it's a difference between you extending and not.
Yeah, and it's not so much about now, because I feel like we have the easy side, you have the tough side. If you're going to sell a property that's now in a flood zone, a lot of, again, it's usually first time owners that would miss it, because they're looking at what it feels like, not so much what it says on the maps.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, we don't really care about that
it's
now.
Logical.
And I'm not saying, hey, this house is going to flood. It's, hey, in 20 years' time when you go to sell this,
like
right now this flood mapping and stuff is newer and it's kind of happening. But can you imagine what it's going to be like in 20 years' time? It's going to be like, oh, sorry, this street isn't where you're allowed to fly your flying car or something. Like, it's going to be like, that's what it's going to be. And this is going to be the norm. Like, hey, it's a flood zone, we're not going to buy it. So,
well, it's interesting. You look at when they talk about flood zones in Frankston, I'll say, you know what, guys, have a look. There's a beautiful street and it's wedged. It's called Long Island. So you got the beach here and you got a creek there, Kennel Creek. It's a Gould Street. Everything in there, like if you go off the climate change side of things, that should be underwater 20 years ago, right? Mate, people are still buying $5-10 million properties in. No one's going to, like, we had someone that say, "Oh, we're wanting."
But that's also location, the feel, falling in love with it. Like you said, it's not as logical. Yeah.
It's logical. So, but we've had a client that's going to, I was talking to a client. They're thinking about doing a digging out the garage, and they're saying, "Oh, it's in a flood zone." I'm like, "Well, if you look further down, they've already done like a 6-car." Basement there, mate. If they've done it, mate, you just scraping out half a meter, you're going to be fine. So don't stress. But do you know what I mean? Like it's interesting how, but knowing these things for resale, anyone that's going to be on the water, they know that there could be that chance. But if you're a couple of k's back, it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think it's a more a conversation for you guys, like as if when you're getting the listings and you see it's in a flood zone, like you can almost guarantee an investor's not going to touch it these days. Not again, sorry, a savvy investor is not going to touch it, and again, they're also not worried about it selling. It's just don't want to take this on
long-term perspective.
Because the other thing we do, and like when I say that, we don't buy in flood zones. We have some developer clients who like they don't care, like as long as they get permitting done. And so what we'll do is we'll check insurance costs. That's the best way.
I was going to say insurance costs.
So if the insurance cost for there was one in Geelong the other day where it was insurance costs for the flood zoned house and the one next door were exactly the same. So the people that give a shit the most about flood zones are the insurance companies. Whereas like say we did some buying up in Townsville, in those places,
oh my God,
that does matter, and that's where insurance premiums can be 5-fold for the house next
Absolutely.
door.
I saw a client of ours that bought a place up there, and luckily he bought it next. It was a further street, but he met a guy who's insured. They got flooded. It was up near northern Queensland, and due to that getting flooded, his premium went from like $3,000 to like $20,000. And he's luckily stayed at $3,000 because he was at the higher point. So they were still in a flood zone, but he said, "Look, there's an old Queenslander home on stilts." But further down, their premiums went through the roof. So these are the things that a lot of people don't consider, and I think that's really important.
If there was only one metric that you would go off when you were buying, what would it be? If you had one,
days on market.
Days on market.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an addict for days on market, and that's
how do you read
for
that?
The suburb or for the suburb? If you see that the days on market's low, are you saying that's a really good time to be?
I'd say it's more about the trend than the number.
Okay.
So, like, for instance, we were buying in and around Frankston when it was in that kind of 30s to
Clever.
high 20s.
Yeah, so
which was pretty
you're going
normal.
on the higher when you
Yeah,
can.
but it was when it was 40 something, right? So it's coming down.
It's coming down. So when it's if the height of the market, that's when you're retracting.
Yeah, it gets to a point where, like, particularly when we're
This guy's already bought all of it up. What do you mean?
Yeah, so like right now, like if you look at the numbers, like say Cameron Downs, like which it ticked every single box that we look at, and it did 18, 24 months ago. Did a lot of buying there, and now it's getting tougher and tougher to buy. So we get to a window where we only buy off market, and that's because it's opportunistic and an agent calls us when we get something, but we're not buying anything on market there. But again, it started in the high 20s. It's down to 13 days on market.
It's the quickest I think it's the quickest. Oh, you'd know better than me. Quickest in Victoria, I
it
think.
would be, right now. Yeah.
I think on days on
it's,
market.
that comes down significantly. And then, but again, you watch that come down. And there's places we've been buying in other places like Perth, Queensland. It starts in the 80s, and you see now it's in single digits.
Yeah.
So it's about timing of that entry.
It's timing, yeah. I think that's and it's interesting you say that because I have heard that before where the trend in days on market, the longer it is, the better you can go in. You got more. There's more supply, and the demand's not as strong. When it's lower days on market, that means the demand's strong, supply is strong.
Yeah.
So it's
And again, so you've got to combine the numbers with what you're seeing on the ground. So like Cameron Downs, for instance, it's 13 days on market. It's probably even dropped to I'd be single digits now, be getting close, depending on the data source. But the days on market's really like 3. It's like listed Thursday.
Subject to finance, 2 weeks.
Well, once you've had the actual first open, like you just said.
Open Thursday, listed Thursday, open Saturday, sold Saturday night, Sunday. So that's actually what the days on market are, realistically, and that's why it's dragging down that number so competitively.
Now you deal with a lot of agents.
Yeah.
What do you reckon there's one thing that we could do better? Or have you had pretty good experience so far?
Pretty good experience. Like again, like especially agents, like there's some agents like that are pretty big in Frankston and I bought no property off because it's either a waste of time or you have to go through a certain process and it's infuriating for the buyers. And buyers agents for that matter. So I think transparency is a huge one. But the other thing is just like the most annoying question you get is when you just get thrown sales back in your face. So like even if like particularly in the off market space, this is why I like to transact in it because it's a lot more transparent and it's like here are the numbers. Like we can make it work if it's this, and you guys only if you want that, great, we can make it happen. Whereas like there's nothing worse. I had this happen to me in Geelong the other day where it was an off market they sent to me, and I said, hey, like, what are you hoping to get for it? And he's like, what are you willing to pay for it? And I was like, just give me a number.
Give me a number.
give me a range. Because I'm not going to waste my time looking at it if we're just going to play games. And sometimes that's because maybe they haven't got the listing yet. They've spoken to them and
they're trying to get a read
just
on.
trying to get it, and then they want to go back with the highest possible price. But like I won't commit time to that. If I don't think it's going to be a legitimate one, we'll just move on to the next one. So the transparency piece and communication, I think, is the big one because
that's really good.
Because particularly for your everyday buyer who experiences it probably worse than I do.
Yeah,
it's annoying and frustrating.
We've got a situation at the moment where it's been a great process that we've been given. Like we've got 2 rare blocks of land in Langwarrin, and I think we've got 12 offers on one block.
We had 12 offers on one and 4 on the other, and we ran it, get all the initial offers in, and then be very transparent about where everyone sits. And then a best and final.
And then a best and final.
And it's a walk away. It's not I'm going to favour anyone. You've got best. You give me your best. And we're going to present them with the owner, and they can sign off.
It's interesting. A lot of buyers, the biggest problem they have is, and we see it like agents won't even call them back. They'll just say, "Oh, yeah, sorry, we've sold it."
We'll send messages out.
Some of it's you guys are really good, like with the communication piece. So when I said that before, obviously I was directed at you guys because you're quite different, and there are some really good agents in this LGA. Like there's heaps that I get along with quite well. But a lot of feedback we get is, and again, maybe because we're buyers agents, advocates, we get treated slightly different, but we have a lot of people that from Sydney-based clients who have tried to do it themselves, and they're putting offers in, and they're not even sure if the offer's being like read or accepted, and they're getting no communication back. Like what I do, and then you can't even call the agent because they don't answer their phone, of like getting feedback on offers, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of that happening in the hot markets. The feedback I always give is that like because we're on the buying side in a hot market, we're always obviously chasing you guys, and again, we're proactive. We love markets, but it's when the market changes. And I had this conversation with some Queensland-based agents I used to do a lot of work with. they're like, it can happen overnight.
Absolutely.
And it definitely does from a buyer's agent perspective. As soon as the data changes, if you're one of the big buyer's agents buying 40, 50 properties, as soon as it gets too tough or the data changes, they just move to a different market. And you don't have that kind of influx of buyer activity. It evaporates overnight, and then you'll find you're calling them and they're not answering your phone. So it does change.
It does.
You've always got we've got a bit of a philosophy. You got to treat people regardless of any market.
Exactly.
You take a call, you answer a call, you take them through the service. That's it. And regardless if it's a hot market, cold market, it might be more work in a hot market. But when it's cold, at least you'll have more buyers that actually like you.
As you're going up, I heard a really good analogy where as you're walking up the ladder of property, you're going to meet a lot of people along the way, and it's how when you get to the top and you're on the way down, and that could be market conditions. There'll be some people that will want to see you fall, or if you've treated them well, they're going to take your call. So it's really important. The relationships that you build is critical in this industry, without doubt. So, you're dealing with how many agencies would you be dealing with, or agents down here?
I'd say regularly, 7 to 8. But like 20, 30 plus.
20, 30 plus, easy. Like, so, and that's the thing. Like, if a call comes in, you call an agent within probably 3 to 4 hours minimum, they'd easily get back to you.
Yeah, or it's usually call the phone and they kind of answer. As long as if
they'll
not an
answer,
inspection or something,
It's
that kind of thing.
And that's the sort of relationship. If you can have that transparency, and that's where a lot of the buyers that are probably purchasing through you, they get that. That just doesn't come easy. Do you know what I mean? You've had to build that trust. You and Lindsay do a really great. You work well together. And you're great.
I was going to say, actually, you're a family business.
That's
always very similar. How do you find it working together?
It's good, particularly because I don't have a lot of time for the occupier side, and so that's how we break most of it up. So I'll be mostly with our investor clients, and Lindsay works mostly with our homeowner clients.
Yeah, nice.
Because the homeowner clients, and my most difficult client is an investor client that looks at a property like a homeowner. And so I'll go through a property, I'll be like, this one's probably $60,000 under market value. And then I was like, we should put an offer in. And they're like, oh, I don't like the colour of the tiles in the kitchen.
You're like, dude.
Hang on, you're
I'm like, I can't even tell you what the colour. I didn't even see the tiles. Like, I don't even care about that.
You're not looking at that.
You're not looking at that. Yeah.
So they're the toughest ones.
The basement was black. It's okay. Just buy it.
Whereas Lindsay's obviously a lot more time for that, and is better suited to those clients.
No, that's good.
Just quickly, the last question: do you think, obviously, buyers agents in a hot market, they more or less come in? You guys, led the charge in Frankston, picked up a lot of property in here, and now you're over in Geelong, which seems you're already ahead of the curve. I'm sure you haven't been promoting as much. You're promoting more now because you want to pump the area up. But do you think, like you said, you've had a lot of investor clients, now you're getting more homeowners. Do you think the everyday Joe should be using buyers agents more to unlock and help them with the value and the negotiation?
And I think it's like everyone's different, right? So like if you've got heaps of spare time and particularly if you're an investor or a first homeowner and you're happy and enjoy the process, go and do it. And especially educate yourself first, listen to podcasts, read as much as you can, educate yourself. You can definitely go and do it. Like what we do is not like I'm saying no one else can do this.
Correct, yeah.
But most of our clients, it's about a time thing and like how much you value your time. Because if you're going to spend every Saturday out looking for property, or you're going to spend your time calling agents, wasting your time, it suck up a lot of time.
Time is money. Yeah, it really is, and people don't realise it. Like I remember, we've seen a couple last year where they kept missing out on properties, and 6 months went by, and we said, look, you know what?
You take them through 3-4 times at one house, and you're like, how many times can you try? And you're almost doubting your own ability. Am I a good sales agent by that point? What's going on?
But we've seen buyers that were underbidders at auctions, were taken through properties, and then they go, oh yeah, the tiles, and we're like, mate, don't worry about the tiles. And then 6 months later, they're still in the marketplace, and you're like,
they missed out for 5-10K, but they've spent.
But the growth they've missed out, they're going to now have to pay an additional 5 or 7%.
A few down here, but particularly in Geelong already. I don't know why the Geelong market, they seem to pick up the buyer's agency thing quicker than Frankston has, like for locals.
Yeah.
But like, let's say 15K our cost to go out and buy a property. Like you make that in 1 month. Like A would hopefully be undervalued and you make it up straight away. But like if you're waiting 6 months to buy property right now, you're $100,000 behind.
Well, by the time you settle, if you do a 60-day settlement, your 15K that you've invested, you've already made it back.
Exactly.
And plus driving from Melbourne to Geelong Geelong back to Melbourne, meeting 4-6 hours.
Trying to research an area you don't know much
rolling
about.
Rolling through REA, Domain, all the apps, there's...
And we still get it now. Like I literally yesterday, I had someone I spoke to in August last year that was trying to buy an investment property in Frankston.
Good luck.
They've reached out now saying, okay, I've tried, ready to go. And I was like, sure, but like, you know that brief you had, that's impossible now. So we're going to have to readjust if you do want to go ahead. So like, it happens, people try and that's fine.
Yeah.
But the opportunity cost is way bigger than
Absolutely.
You could charge $50,000 and the opportunity cost wouldn't have would have been still worse off.
What's been the last, sorry, I asked the last question. I just want the last one. What's the worst, not worst brief, but like the most unrealistic brief you've ever been given? You've seen it come on your desk and you've gone, or the discovery call and you've gone, this isn't happening. Is there one, or are you pretty?
Yeah, most of them are pretty good, and I think it's like it's an education piece on our like when it comes through, it's like I want to buy this, this, and this for this much. I was like, good. We're probably not the buyer's agent for you because we're not. You can't do that. And funnily enough, I've actually had. You reminded me of one particular person. I never signed up as a client. They were with another buyer's agency, another Melbourne-based one, who said, "Yeah, we can go get that for you." And they went to another one afterwards, and they couldn't get it. And they come to me, and I was like, why are people saying yes? You can't do that. Like, and so like we can actually take them on because like you can't get what you're looking for.
Is there some agents, some buyers agents, are they getting upfront fees?
Yep.
Is that so? Is that why they would have had to charge? Yeah,
potentially. Yeah, they took that fee and then just for cash flow or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas I think for us, we're lucky we can be a lot more selective. Like we don't need to do that because boutique, small. Yeah. We don't need to. We don't paying heaps of employees. We've got some, but we don't have to pay too many.
It's interesting. We talk about that in our business. I've had the 10, 12 salespeople, all the, and you're taking on pretty much everything. We're very selective in who we bring in as clients because, one, we're not museums where we just collect listings.
Yeah.
It's no different to you collecting clients.
So there's no point having
one bad client can ruin
all your good clients, all your good energy. Yeah.
All of a sudden your phone's ringing and you go, oh, not that guy or that owner's selling. Oh, what am I going to say to him? You want to be dealing with people that are there's clear motivation. They want to sell. They're not there to waste your time because, for us, and I'm not sure if, it's the same with you, if we don't sell a property, we don't get paid. Yeah. So people look at us and they go, oh, you guys get paid. Well, hang on, there's a lump sum, but all the work that we do before and the years of prospecting and nurturing those relationships.
And fine-tuning the process.
Yeah, fine-tuning the process. It all takes time. So we don't get paid until, even when we sell the property, we don't get paid straight away. We got to wait 2-3 months down the track.
Yeah, and you hate probably people me and say, like, can we do like a 6-month settlement? And so like that because particularly for our development clients as well, obviously we get paid before that, but you guys get paid when it settles, which is quite different. But
it is,
it's funny you say that. We actually increased our engagement fees. We have an upfront fee and a success fee.
Yep.
And again, because I guess we could, and in terms of the clients we would like to have.
Great.
And two reasons why we do that. One is because it gets rid of time wasters. So there's lots of people out there, and I think there's lots of buyers agents that might accept it. It's just nothing up front and only on success. And we also do exclusive arrangements, so you can't be with another buyer's agent at the same time. Because
do you have that often?
Yeah.
So they've got all their briefs with other people.
Yeah, and so what they're essentially trying to do is just trying to work with as many as they can, and then just wait for the best opportunity. So we've done it once. Yeah. And the same thing happened. They just couldn't pull the trigger. So we ended that, and we're like, all right, stick with who you got because like we can't be wasting any time. So increased our engagement fee. It shows they're motivated and actually keen to buy. And two, it's more for the selling agent side. Yeah, I want you to know that if I'm coming to you with a brief, I've got a motivated buyer. I'm not wasting your time.
It sounds really good, and this is a compliment. When you're calling, it's good. It's a good thing. Like, and I know what I mean by that. There's like you said, you want a high level of certainty from a property, and you want a guide, at least a price and understanding. It's no different. It's like when I get that call, it's like, I'm not wasting your time. You're not wasting my time. Yeah. We're doing a deal if opportunities there.
We had one of my best referrers actually had a property and she dual listed it. Mm-hmm. So similar to what this guy's, and I remember saying to this lady, look, I'd like the exclusivity, but if you wanted to get this other agent on, and it was funny, it was in Frankston South. She wanted a Mount Eliza agent. That's because Mount Eliza had more money back then, because they'd have the windows and there's more money there in Mount Eliza than what there is in Frankston because all the offices were in Frankston. Anyway, I'll never forget this, and I use this quite a lot. I had a buyer that I was dealing with, and he and of course buyers at the moment, they all got their briefs with all the agents. So I actually had this offer from this person. I said, we're going to go down. He put it in writing, and just before I was going to, back then you drive out, had the Nokia, my phone rang, and it was the buyer, and he goes, look, I want to withdraw my offer. I said, mate, I've been working with you. You've been through it 3 times. You've had a building inspection. Mate, we're going to get this done. No, take it off. No, not interested. Okay, so I went to the lady's house. She said, look, that's disappointing. She goes, it doesn't matter. I've got the other agent's bringing another buyer through. I said, okay. Anyway, I went away. I had the contract there. Next day, that agent in Mount Eliza knew that I had an offer from this buyer and said, hey, I'll get it for you cheaper. So he's gone in 10 grand cheaper. Now 10 grand back then was like 50,000, right? So the lady signed it off, and I rang her and I said, look, she said, well, I just want to let you know it's off the market. We've got it sold. It's under contract. I said, okay. I said, look, the buyer that I was dealing with, I didn't for private and confidential. The buyer that I had, his name was this. You could hear a pin drop in the background. She goes, I said, what's on the contract with you? And she goes, same buyer. I said, well, I had 240 signed off.
Yeah.
You've sold for 230. And I always say to sellers, if you want to go and give it to all the agents.
Well, it's mixed messaging.
It's
the worst. Messaging. I remember in previous core projects, we would do land development sites, and every farmer would be like, I want to shop it out, give it to as many people. But you're like, hold on. You're going to have consortium agents who are going to go in favour all these investors, come in with, like you just said, an offer that sounds attractive, but then they're going to pitch it in a different guide. You're getting mixed messages, and that's a small niche market. So I've said, never take business on it. If you're going to go down the route, give certainty, be exclusive with an agent, or try and sell it yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's
and so it's funny, and I don't want to count everything you said, but I got an example of, I think this is where you guys would come to the forefront is, I sold a property last year, the year before, when I had up in Queensland. I kind of moved it on, and we had tenants in there for another 4 months.
Yep.
And I just started speaking to a few agents, and like, we can sell it off market. I was like, I know what off market is. So I said, so what I ended up doing was I listed it with 2 agents off market with an obscene price. And I said, look, if you can get that price, that's great. Otherwise, I'll take it to market when the tenants move out, and we'll freshen it up. And so one super keen agent, super like, I want to get it done. I said, we'll do the listing. I said, here's the other agent, because I wanted to use another agent, but I was property managing with another one, and they wanted to be involved. And so they both got the listing. It was an open listing, and the agent that was super keen, once he'd listed it, just disappeared. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I've sent it to the database." I was like, "Yeah, well, what are you doing?" And then the other one. Every week I was getting updates. Hey, I've had this many people call, this many. He's like, and we both knew that the price we're asking was too much.
Yep.
But then, over a couple of weeks, I knew straight away. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to try and sell it now, but I'm going to take it to this guy who actually, his communication is 100 times better. He's proactive. And so he went with him, and that's who I sold it with when we took it to market.
I don't think there's no harm with like you just said, off market. If you've got the ability to try and see who can bring the best offer. I get that.
Yeah.
But when you're on the market and you're going to the open market, don't do conjunctuals.
Yeah.
Well, gone are the days.
Those days are gone. But it's interesting. A lot of having worked at big franchises where there's 30, 40 agents. The meetings on a Monday morning and saying how many listings are there, and and here's the board, who's the leaderboard. If you didn't have a listing next to your name. So having a general sometimes just gives that kid, or that person a bit of confidence. So they'll just take it. But once again, are they going to sell it? The answer is probably not.
Yeah.
Skyhammer, thank you for coming on to Selling Frankston.
Thanks for having me. It's been good.
Did you have any questions for us?
Not at this stage. Usually on my podcast,
you're always
asking the questions.
Well, you did actually know you don't get any question time. We've actually just realised you asked all the questions.
It's nice to sit back and just talk away and answer some questions.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to drop your details into the bottom of the description here. Yep. We'll actually put this one on Spotify as well. So,
nice.
How do they get in contact with you? What's the best route?
Probably two ways. Melbourne Property Podcast. Reach out to us that way on socials. Have a listen to that. Or just Convergence Buyers Agents. Just Google that or Google my name. It's probably easier. Sky. If you Google Sky Hammer,
I call him Thor.
I've got you saved as Sky with a hammer.
Yeah.
Thor hammer.
Yeah, honestly, that'd be the easiest way. And then, reach out whichever way, email, phone call, whatever.
No worries.
Awesome, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Thank you for coming on, Sky, again. And
Thanks, Sky.
Dad, pleasure as always. See you in the next one.